Blessings to all of you connecting with us live here on Facebook and those who will eventually be able to watch this on YouTube. It's your brother David Williams here with Jesus Ministries, if I have not already said that, and I'd like to share a couple of dreams with you, not in their entirety, but a couple of dreams, just some components. The very first dream that I like to share with you, I had probably in perhaps 2013. And in 2013, I was in prayer, and as I was in prayer, all of a sudden, I had this dream. I drifted off into sleep or something, and I had this dream where I'm standing on the roof of a building we used to hold gatherings in. So I'm standing on the roof of this building, and as I'm on the roof, I'm not alone. There are several members of the church standing on the roof, and we are facing the west. We're facing the western horizon. All right, so there are brothers and sisters standing on the roof to my left, and also some behind me. And there are some brothers and sisters standing on the pavement below where we park our cars, and we are looking toward the west. And it's a very, very beautiful evening. It's a beautiful evening. The sky, part of the sky is dark, where we can see the moon, and a part of the sky, and then it kind of fades into a bluish and then a reddish. It's beautiful. The sky is really, really beautiful. And we were there admiring the beautiful sky. We were admiring the beautiful sky. And as we're sitting there admiring the sky, and I'm looking up, and the sky is full of stars, very, very beautiful stars. And some of us had out our cell phones. We're like, oh goodness, we have our cell phones out. We're trying to capture this moment. People are sharing with each other how beautiful the sky is. And as we're standing there marveling at the sky, we look over to our left, or my left at this point, which would be the southwest, looking southwestern direction. And as I look there, we see this big, beautiful planet. It's really huge. It's about, it was huge. It was huge. It took up probably about 10% of the sky view. It was so big. It was so big. It took up about 10% of the sky view. All right. It was beautiful. And it had the surface of it, we couldn't see all of it. It faded into the skyline, but the surface of it looked like planet Earth. It was beautiful. And right above us, the moon was beautiful, and the moon next to it was beautiful. So there was this yellowish colored moon and a bluish colored moon, and they were beautiful. And there were many, many stars in the sky. And we're staring at this beautiful night sky and just really taking in the nature of it all before evening service. And as we're staring at the sky and staring and admiring the beauty, it occurred to me, I look at this big, beautiful planet that seemed to be getting a bit closer. It was just beautiful. I'm standing there and I think to myself, man, that's a beautiful planet. But it looks a lot like Earth. It looks a lot like Earth. What planet is that? Like, what planet has such features? What planet is that? Because wait, we're on Earth, but what planet is that? If we are on Earth and no other planet in our solar system has the features of Earth, beautiful oceans and cloud coverage, then what's that? If we're here on Earth, we are on Earth, then what's that? And then I look above me and I stare at the two moons. Like, okay. And why are there two moons? Why are there two moons? And as I'm sitting there beginning to question why things looked like they looked, then all of a sudden, as if it was a projection, the big blue planet and one of the moons, I forget if it was the yellowish one or the bluish one, and about 40 to 60% of the stars all collectively shifted as if you're at a planetarium. I don't know if you've ever been to a planetarium where they are casting the imagery onto the ceiling of an auditorium, and the imagery that you see is all being produced. It's a manufactured view of the solar system. So if you've been to a planetarium, you understand what I mean. As I'm standing, as we, my brothers and sisters in the Lord, are standing admiring the beautiful sky, you see a big, beautiful planet that looks very much like the Earth. We see two moons above us and many beautiful stars. When I begin to question what I'm seeing, then the big blue planet, one of the moons, I forget whether it's a blue one or the yellowish one, and about 50% of the stars all collectively shifted out of view. They just, it's like as if someone took a projector, the projector that was projecting this collectively together. It was as though someone just took the projector and just moved it. And so the planet that we were seeing, one of the moons and many of the stars all collectively shifted. And as they were collectively shifting, 50% of the stars stayed in their position, one of the moons stayed in their position, and the planet was gone. And when I saw that, I started to shout to the brothers and sisters who were standing to my right and to my left, those who were standing behind me, and those who were standing to my left, and those who were standing on the floor. I said, "It's fake! It's fake! Come on, let's get out of here! It's fake!" And they kind of looked at me and looked up at the sky, and they were disappointed. They were disappointed. I was disappointed too, but I was a bit more disturbed than I was disappointed. I was disturbed that this was fake. Oh wait, this is fake. It's fake. Guys, this is fake. Hey, it's fake. Come on, let's go. And they looked over at me and they looked up like, oh man, it's messed up. It's fake. You know, some of us wanted it to be real. I think all of us wanted it to be real. But even after being told it was fake, I could tell that there was this lingering wish that it was real. Like, man, yeah, it's fake. Ah, man, So then some of us just jumped off the roof and filed into the church. And as we filed into the church or filed into the meeting, then the meeting gradually began to grow numerically. People were coming in both doors, and all of a sudden, the church was inundated with people, and we couldn't handle the amount, and so some had to decide to go home and come back later in the week. And people that were in the ministry but not being used for ministry at the moment had to minister because of the amount of people that needed ministering to. And then I awoke. Okay, that's dream number one. Second dream I'd like to share with you. I have multiple parts. We're not going to talk about multiple parts. We'll talk about the main part. I'm in an old neighborhood, a neighborhood in which I used to live. I'm in a neighborhood in which I used to live, and as I'm there, I'm conversing with a friend that I know from where I presently live. So I know there's a person I used to work with, and we would talk frequently at work. And I'm talking to him. He's introducing me to an older brother of his. I didn't know he had an older brother, but in this dream he had an older brother. I knew he had a younger brother, but in this dream he was introducing me to his older brother. I was surprised about that, but I was happy to meet his brother. So as we're standing there talking, I asked his older brother, I said, "Oh, how far apart are you? What's the age difference?" And he said, "Oh, we're just a year apart." I said, "Oh, okay." And as I'm having this conversation with his older brother, and I begin to talk to his older brother about Jesus to see what level of dedication he was on. I wanted to know if he was a believer in Jesus Christ. And as I'm having this conversation with him, off in the distance behind the houses, I see the White House. The White House, where the U.S. president lives and works. So I see the White House. Okay, so the White House is there. I'm having this conversation, and all of a sudden, above the White House are these two. Above the White House are these two machines. They are aircraft. These two aircraft I see above the White House, and they are pointing downward toward the White House. And one of them crashes into the White House, and the other one afterwards, I think, crashes or is about to crash into the White House. So I'm sitting here having this conversation with my co-worker's brother, older brother, who in real life doesn't exist, as far as I know. And so I look and I see these two aircraft crash, one after the other, into the White House. As I see it, I immediately become terrified. But there was a feature of what I was seeing that puzzled me, that confused me. And what I saw was the fact that the White House didn't look real. It was as though, I could see it. It was clear, but it looked like a hologram. Because when the aircraft crashed into it, there was the impact was so extreme that bolts of lightning began to manifest. It was like lightning bolts came as a result of the crash, out from the crash. So they hit the building, and the explosions went off. But I don't know if the White House flickered or if it was just the coloration that let me know that the White House wasn't real. Those planes were real, but the image of the White House wasn't real. But I responded as though it was real. Like, oh man, these aircraft just crashed into the White House. I need to get out of here, because the government at this point, if you lose the White House, whether the president is in it or not, the government is going on complete lockdown and no one's going to be free. So I immediately tried to run away and get my family. But as I began to run, I began to realize that, I can't run fast enough to get away from the ramifications, the effects of what just happened. I'm on foot. The White House just got blown up. But what I remember was that it looked manufactured. The building didn't have the natural coloration of the rest of the environment. So I could tell when I awoke that wasn't real. Okay, so I said I'd share two. More have come to mind. I gotta keep sharing until it's time for me to say the actual message. So, and I have a marker, so we'll work with the marker that I have. So, I don't know if, let me see, give me a second. All right, so this applies. So then another dream that I have, I am standing outside in a neighborhood and I look up into the sky, and this was years ago, so I may not remember everything, but I'm standing outside and I look up and I see something that looks like that. It's little clouds. I see clouds in the sky. I see clouds, and that's like the formation of the clouds. And then I see clouds. Right? That's a pretty weird cloud formation, isn't it? That's what I see. But, you know, it's normal. Clouds over here and over there. See the rest of a cloud over there. Good. Yeah, it's a cloud. Clouds. And I see that cloud formation. Perfectly blue sky. Grayish white clouds, grayish white, a little darkish color in the cloud in the sky. And I'm standing there. I'm standing there, and I look up and I see this. It's like, okay, well, this sky is interesting today. I look to my left, I look up again, and when I look up again, then cloud formation changes, or its attitude. Attitude. It's like, okay, so now it looks like that. And these things increase. And this is all clouds looking things. And I look to the left and I see it again. Go, okay. It's more. Is that more? Is that more? And I look down, and I look up a third time, and the third time it's like more. More. It's like more of this, and this vortex kind of thing is forming. But this is the center of it. This vortex is like forming in this swirly kind of thing. Swirly kind of like, and this dark spot in the middle seems to be getting bigger. Like this vortex is forming, this dark spot's getting bigger. Like, okay, so. And at this point, I look down to the person on my left, and he's a normal person, meaning he's not in the faith. He's just a guy who is in the neighborhood. And, you know, the more of these things are now, like, the sky is full of these things, but they're all directed towards this cloud formation vortex thing. And they all look like that. They're going in that direction. and that they're, once they get up in the area, then they kind of sweep towards this thing, and it was just like that, give it, So as I see this, I look at this person as if to say, man, now I know you see that. I know you see that. And I said, hey man, look at that. I said, do you see that? And so his response to me was, oh yeah, man. And whatever he said, it was like interesting. Whatever he said in response to what I said was, I could tell he was like parroting something. I could tell he was like just repeating something that he heard. I could tell he was simply repeating something that he heard on CNN. I could tell. So it was very interesting. And, because people do that oftentimes. Like, oh no, it's this. And you can tell that they don't have personal knowledge of it. They're just kind of parroting what they said. And so he responds. He says, oh yeah, that's that. And I don't remember what word he used. But whatever he used, I could tell he got off of television. I could tell the weather anchor people, the news people told him that. He was like, oh yeah, that's that Coriolis effect, or oh yeah, that's the, and he said it like a regular guy who has no knowledge of this. He said it with a sense of confidence. He said it with his street accent. Oh yeah, man, that's that Coriolis effect. Like, oh yeah, that's not a problem. Oh yeah, that's not significant. That's that it's what they said on the news. It is. That's El Nino. Oh yeah, man, that's El Nino. Oh yeah, that's that eclipse the world. Whatever he said, it was. I could tell he was just saying what he heard on television. I said, this guy's just saying what he heard on television. So I'm now semi-appeased, like I'm kind of appeased. Like, okay, so because he seems cool, he seems okay, like he's not panicking. So should I panic? That looks like, if you saw this in the sky, I think that would alarm you. And it was gradual. And I was like, but so most of me thought that, no, man, that's an insufficient response. But there was a part of me that wanted everything to be normal, so I kind of accepted his response. I was like, oh yeah? That's the Coriolis effect? That's El Nino? Within seconds of this thing, and I'll just point out what I think. All right, I do believe that this was a vortex. All right, someone please get the definition for the word vortex and put it in the comments. This was a vortex, and I believe that these were like some kind of entities, like they were like, I believe that's what these were. I believe these were like, they looked like souls or spirits or something. And they were all going in toward this thing. But it seemed like they were being raptured. That's the word I'm going to use. I could tell that, okay, these things are being raptured toward this thing. And vortex, a mass of whirling, okay, wow, that's interesting. A mass of whirling fluid or air. Yeah, that's interesting. A mass of whirling fluid or air. So yeah, it was a vortex. What was that? Okay, so it was a vortex. And I could tell these were like souls or spirits or something like that. I could tell that that's what that was. And then this changed shape, and then all of a sudden, this big alien thing fell out of the sky. And as it falls out of the sky, I look into the craft, because it had windows, and the alien thing looked very distressed. You know, it was like a greenish, grayish creature with really big eyes. And it looked very distressed, and I was like, what just happened? So then the guy who just confidently said, oh yeah, that's this. That's not important. That's not different. That's not strange. That's the Coriolis effect. That's the, whatever fake scientific word he used that he heard off of television. He took off running. Like, oh, I got him run. He took off running. Like, he took off. I looked inside of this thing, and this thing that was in there was just totally distressed. Like, like he just got into a car accident. When that happened, emergency personnel from every direction came out of everywhere and locked down the streets. Locked down the streets. No one's moving. No one's going anywhere. If you are in this area, you can't leave. You can't leave. You are completely immobilized. And so I escaped because, in certain types of dreams that I have, I can fly. So I just ran into a store where I knew some of the people from Jesus Ministries were. I said, hey guys, we have to go right now. We have to go right now. Let's go right now. And so, we kind of came out of the stores, and I flew over the reach of the emergency personnel. All right. So that was dream number 3. Dream number 4 is the last one that I'll share. I kind of want to interpret this, but I don't, because I don't want to know. I don't really know if my interpretation will be exactly what God is saying about this one here. And so when I do some explaining, we'll walk back through some of the dreams that I've mentioned. So the 4th dream, many components to it, so we won't talk about that. And we get to a part where in this airport / mall / transportation facility. And huge windows that look out across extensive pavement that jets would park on, that planes or jets would park on. So a tarmac, big area there. The stores are over here, walkways are here, and people are just moving back and forth, and I'm having a conversation with someone that I don't know. And as I'm having this conversation, I look out of the windows, and as I look out of the windows, on the tarmac is water. It's like water is covering the tarmac. For some reason that was normal, but and when I say water, I don't mean like water just it being wet. I mean it was like an ocean, but a tarmac simultaneously. you know it's a dream, so it made sense. So, okay, so the tarmac is there, and then there's water that covers it, like a body of water. So the tarmac is under a body of water or in a body of water. And I'm having a conversation, and I look out over the tarmac, and I see a reflection. So the rest of the water is just kind of water, and it's just regular water. You know what I mean? Water. And one part was a bit darker. I know you guys can't really see that, but this is blue and that's black. This part was a bit darker, and I looked for a moment. I wonder, is that a reflection? Is that something in the ocean or in the water? Not important. Having the conversation. I look again. It's a bit darker. Yeah, man. So oh yeah. Oh, sorry. So I look over again, and it's a bit darker, a bit clearer. Okay. It's interesting. And then I look back again. The next time I look, I see lines. And at that point I say, oh, now I know that's not a reflection. But what is it? What is it? And then I look to my left, or to the left of this thing. So I look to the left of this, and I see a person. And the person is a very fit-looking guy, black, slick hair. He's got something in his hand. And he's kind of walking with it in his hand, and he doesn't have it in two hands, but I could tell that he probably uses two hands to operate it. And I could tell that what he had was designed to cause this to be. He was doing it. He had a technological device, and he was watching. He was in a window, so over here was an extension of the building in which we were. So, and there was a window there. So there was, so he was in here. The guy was in there. And I knew that that was an extension of the building that I was in, because this is the position in which I was. I was here, and then the building that I was in went this way, and then another section of it went that way. And this part was overlooking that area there. And I looked, and then I saw the guy, and he kind of like was pacing. Not really pacing, but intently manufacturing this with this device he had in his hand. And he looked up at me just quickly. He kind of stared at me, and then, went about what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew that I saw him. It didn't matter to him. But he knew that I saw him, even though he could tell that people don't see him. Like, nobody knows what I'm doing. Oh, that guy sees me, he knows what I'm doing. But whatever, I'm doing this. And so he just kept doing what he was doing. So now I'm half interested in this conversation that I'm having, because now I'm trying to figure out what this is. Okay, well, what's that? Okay, so this thing turns into some kind of port. It was like a port. And it was barely visible, barely visible, but it was becoming more and more visible. And this was like a walkway, and then eventually this, it's like stairs. And this is still practically transparent. This is still practically transparent. And this leads, and at this point here, even though this is practically transparent and practically like, is this real? Is this real or fake? Like what's, and this is like in the water. Like this point, that's in the water, but this thing is like not real. So wait, is this real or is this not real? Is this real or is this not real? And it looks, it's some thing, and these lines that I was seeing, these lines became people. And they were walking like they were arriving from somewhere. They became, they materialized as people. One had a suitcase, some kind of luggage. And so as I'm seeing this, it's like, okay, what's going on here? So now I'm concerned. The guy who was in this window was manufacturing this. No one was seeing it. The ocean part was here. This strange, holographic, practically translucent port was like there, forming, coming into view. These stairs went from the port down into the water. And once a person would go down this, if he were to walk, he would be in the building I was in. He would enter the building in which we were. He would come into where the people were, the normal people. These people were appearing. They were coming into view. But we were the real people, and we were in this building. And this guy over here, he was a real person, but he was a secret person. So what really alarmed me when one of the people who had appeared walked down this flight of stairs. He comes around, he walks down the flight of stairs. When he hits the water, I knew that the water was real. I knew that the building was real. I knew the guy was real. I knew that this thing was not real. It's a hologram. It's a projection. But it's being developed. It's being designed. And so, but these things here, I thought, okay, so what are they? And this guy, they were coming from somewhere, and then they began to walk down this flight of stairs. And as they walked, and as I saw this fake guy, maybe, walk into the water, I saw the water move. So I could tell that, oh, it might not, this person may not have been human or material, but he impacts the material. Like he just hit the water. Like if the water moved once he hit the water. Like what just happened? And so I turned back to the people that are on this, I think they call it a loggia or concourse. We'll just call it a concourse. This hallway. As I turn back to the people that are on this hallway, they're beginning to see it because now it's so visible you can't miss it. And they're amazed. They're amazed. Like, but they're intrigued. They're amazingly intrigued. Like, what is that? and they see these people, and they say, and like one of them, there was a guy, he was positioned a bit in front of the rest who are against the wall watching this. One of them said, and they didn't say anything. He motioned as though he was going to go outside, because apparently there was a door on the concourse that you could go through to get onto the tarmac. And he wanted to go where these people, where these things, where these entities were. He wanted to go where they were. And when he made a move, I shouted at him and them. And I said one of these two things. I either said, "What is in your mind?" Like, what is in your mind? What is in your mind? Or I said, "Don't even think about it." One of those two things I said. And I said it with a great level of fear / anger. Like, what do you think you're doing? Don't even think about it. And for a moment, they stopped. Because in my mind, why are you trying to go out there? This is obviously not good. This is obviously not safe. Get it out of your mind that you would even think to go out there. But then the guy kind of looked at me and looked outside, and then he just kind of took off as if to say, "Man, forget you." And he just took off, and everybody took off after him to go out there to see what this thing was. They wanted to be a part of it. And when I looked to my right, there was just this one young lady, long black hair. She was kind of standing there, kind of holding her phone, like. But she was very close to me. Like, I'm gonna stay close to this guy because that's bad. And when I went to the window to see where they were, like, because now these people just ran out there, and now I'm wondering where these people are going. Like, where are they going? And when I look out the window, when I look at the bottom of where this leads onto the tarmac, I saw hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And I just saw their heads. There were so many of these people. There's hundreds and hundreds of these people streaming from the point of access, just like this. It's their heads. Hundreds of them. And it was like so many of them, they were back there. Hundreds of people. Hundreds of them. And they're streaming into this concourse. They're streaming into this concourse from the bottom level. And as they're streaming into this concourse, I was so overwhelmed with fear and concern. And as they're streaming into this concourse, I said, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? Like, what have they come to do? What are they going to do? I forget what I asked. They looked like normal people. I could tell that they were not good. They were not good. But they were streaming into this thing. The guy over here, he's the one that built that like was causing this holographic fake thing. But through this thing, these entities could come, and they were real, but not real as in our material dimension, but they could impact our material dimension. And so when I asked, like, what are they coming to do? Like, what are they going to do? One of them looked at me with this evil indifference. Put the word indifference up there for me. One of them looked at me with this evil indifference. Like, as if to say, you'll just have to see. He shrugged as if, we're not gonna say, we're here. We're not going to let you know, but the sense of fear you have is accurate. Yes, what we've come to do is what you think, you just don't know what it'll look like. You don't know the scope. You don't know the extent to which we're about to do what we're about to do. And then I woke. And when I woke, the sense of extreme she shrugged, feigning indifference, lack of concern, disinterest, lack of interest, apathy. This evil sense of, and then I woke. And when I woke, I was deeply afraid. Deeply afraid. Now, in those 4 dreams that I've shared, I want to point out a consistent component. The first dream was the false astronomical celestial bodies. False planet, false moon, false stars. We realized it was fake, but for some reason that event caused many to come into the house of God seeking Jesus. Okay, that was dream number 1. Dream number 2, the image that I had of the White House, where the White House was destroyed. In that dream, the Lord put a component in that dream to let me know that it wasn't just my crazy mind. Not that I'm crazy, praise Jesus, but it wasn't just my natural mind. Because in the dream, before I saw the White House destroyed, when I was talking to this co-worker's brother, in real life, or in awake life, I didn't know that my co-worker had an older brother. And so I hadn't seen him in months and months and months. A week after I had that dream, I saw him. And it was either a week or a couple days. But I saw him within a week's time. And when I saw him, I said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And he said, "Hey, what's going on?" We shook hands. I said, "I have a question. Do you have a brother?" Not the one that I already know, because I know he has a brother, a younger brother. I said, "Do you have a brother, like an older brother?" He was like, "Oh yeah, I do. Not from my mom, but from my dad, I have an older brother." I said, "How old is he? What's the age difference?" He said, "A year." So the Lord put in the dream that my coworker had an older brother, and that his older brother was a year. I didn't know that was true until I saw my coworker in awake life, and he confirmed that he had an older brother, and it's a year different. So the Lord put that in the dream to show me, to assure me that what I was seeing was going to manifest. Hey, I just want you to know. Let me put a really mundane component in this dream so that when you awake, you'll know that it was the Lord showing you this and not just your imagination. It wasn't just your imagination. So I'm talking to my coworker's older brother in this dream, one who I don't know exists. And then, in real life, I had to check that. Like, is this real? Is God really going to do this? But the component of that dream was that the White House was fake. So there's a staged event. There's going to come a staged event, a staged attack on the government, but it will look real, and the government is going to respond to the population as though that really happened. Even though it didn't, it did. We have to treat you as though the White House just got destroyed. Okay. The third dream, where I saw this vortex swirling in the sky, and I saw these grayish cloud things going towards the vortex, I believe that there's coming a staged rapture-like event. Okay? I'm not saying that because of my time on the internet. I'm not saying that because of any alternative news information that I view or review. I'm saying that because that's what I believe that the Holy Spirit was showing me that. There's coming a staged rapture-like event, and then some entity or entities are going to appear, and we're going to treat them as though, oh, now the world has to be under full military control. The governments have to change. The standards and expectations and laws have to now change, accommodating the fact that people can't and shouldn't be free because this is a new world situation, order situation. Okay, that was dream number 3. This dream was indicative of how technology is being used to craft things that are not real, but that have real implications. So I know that these were spirits, and they looked like normal people, but I would say that these were demon spirits that live somewhere else, but that are going to be released onto humanity. And they're going to possess people. These spirits are going to possess people, and the people are going to act like they don't have minds. The people, when they get possessed with these creatures, these spiritual things, the people want to be filled with this garbage. And I don't know who you think you are as you are watching this. Many of you, your unwillingness to obey Jesus at a fundamental level is exposing you to this in a way that you don't know you're going to be accepting of and open to. So there is, and it's going to come out of seemingly nowhere. These things are going to happen while we are doing what we do. And many of us, and I joked about this during our Thursday discipleship meeting, many of us are going to be relying on, and hopefully none of us, but there's some people that are not in the Lord, but we trust their response, we trust their demeanor, we trust their attitude to things going on around us. We profess to know Jesus, and they don't commit to him as they ought to. But yet, we are looking to them for them to validate whether what we are seeing, whether it's true. So you've got sons of God that are looking to people who are not sons of God to see what the non-sons of God have to say about what we, the sons of God, are seeing. So many are allowing themselves to function or to respond to the world as those who don't know Jesus are responding to the world. Yet we are sons, we are servants, we are prophets. The Spirit of God speaks to us in dreams and visions and in other methods. And unless we come out from among them in an actual way, you can't listen to what they listen to. You can't watch what they watch. You can't can't have the conversations that they have about politics, about education, about entertainment, about culture, because what that's going to do is it's going to desensitize you, because the enemy is working through people to construct things that are going to gradually appear, but because it'll be gradual, or because it's been so gradual, we're not going to have the right response to it. We're not going to resist it. We're not going to hate it. We're not going to run to Jesus for help. But many are going to think that that's okay. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's what I've been looking for my whole life. One of our brothers shared a dream on one of our last recordings here. For those of you on YouTube, you didn't get it, but for those of you on Facebook, I did a video. I brought in Brother Robert. He shared a dream that he had where he was overlooking the city of West Palm Beach, and this black cloud began to engulf the city, but it began to come up from the ground. So this demonic cloud, and it began to take a shape of its own, a life of its own. These red, yellow, blue, white birds began to come out from the ground, which are just intentionally distracting things. People began to run towards it in awe, and they began to take off their clothing. And in the dream, Brother Robert said that I and a few of the brothers came onto the floor, and as he was watching this, and he looked back toward the people, he said the people began to take off even more of their clothing as they're running to this phenomenon. And as they're doing that, he said that in the dream, I gave the instruction that you're not going to preach to these people. We're not going to say a word to them. The dream, one of the things this dream represents or means is that there is coming a demonic release. The form, the platform, the stage for it is being set. And in this demonic release, people are being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually conditioned to accept what's about to happen. And because they are unwilling to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and as their Savior, and they are unwilling to obey Him, then we are going to, in certain situations, not tell them more than what we've been telling them for years. We're going to be silent to the people that are in rebellion, because they know enough and they despise it. They despise what they know. They know enough and they despise what they know. And so we're not going to be giving them more because of their unwillingness to submit to what they already know as truth. And so the consequences, the ramifications of their rebellion, they're going to be given to. So 2 Thessalonians talks about that. 2 Thessalonians 2. Because people don't love the truth, God's going to give them a strong delusion so that they believe a lie who didn't love the truth. So people, my encouragement is that you obey on a fundamental level, on a daily basis. I'm not describing it as simple nor easy. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy because we've got to fight the flesh. But unless you obey, then the Spirit of God is not going to prepare you. And if you are unprepared, you are not going to respond the way that you should respond when this stuff is going on. It's as simple as that. Unless we obey on a fundamental level, consistently, if we love the world, it's because the Word of God says in 1 John 2, the love of the Father is not in us. Well, Brother David, everybody does a little bit of something. That attitude is going to get you killed on an eternal level. Like that attitude is going to bring about the second death. Unless we love the Lord, then He is not going to give us the strength to overcome the deception that is already at work. Paul says that in 2 Thessalonians 2. The mystery of iniquity does already work. The enemy's tools have evolved. And so he's got more tools. He's been given the rights to introduce more technologies. And through that, he's creating doorways through which he's going to bring actual entities. So this is happening. As we are getting closer to the return of Jesus, people on our left and on our right, many are blind. We can't look at them, nor can we trust their response to what it is that we are experiencing. Wow, this is crazy, isn't it? No? Well, I guess it's not crazy. Man, that was wrong. Wasn't it? No? Well, I guess it wasn't wrong. Man, that looks like the devil. Doesn't it? No? Okay, well, I guess it wasn't. We can't trust the responses of the people around us. You have to believe the Word of God. And when the Holy Spirit tells you something and gives you an urgency concerning a matter, it is your responsibility to respond based on that. Not based on the indifference or the apathy of the people around you. Not based on what the people around you do or say when it comes to Jesus and what he's about to do. Because he's bringing it on the societies that despise him, that hate him. And he's going to tell many of his sons and daughters, okay, so you're done preaching to this city, you're done preaching to that state, don't say another word to that state. Don't say another word to that city. Prepare yourself, protect yourself, strengthen yourself, because you're about to have a very dangerous ride as we get to the return of Jesus Christ. So may the Lord give us grace and strengthen our hearts so that we not just survive, but that we thrive, so that we know our God and do exploits. This is your brother David Williams with Jesus Ministries. Our information will be below. Some of you I'll see tonight on during our worship time, some of you, and others of you I will see when we have the preaching time here on this particular Facebook channel. God willing, we will talk within the next 24